So in today's lecture, students were going to study a receptor family that is ligand-gated ion channel. We have already discussed that there are four major receptor families. These include ligand-gated ion channel, G-protein coupled receptor, enzyme-linked receptor, and intracellular receptor. Now first we are going to discuss ligand-gated ion channels. Before going into detail of the receptors, we must know that receptors have specific sites for binding of the ligands or the endogenous substances or agonist or antagonist or the drugs. So, type of the ligand will also decide to which receptor it will bind. A receptor interaction with a ligand depends upon the nature of the ligand as well. For example, if you have a hydrophilic ligand, that is a water soluble ligand, it means it is not able to penetrate through the cell membrane and enter into the cell. So, in this case, your ligand will bind itself to the external site of the receptor as shown in the figures of the Lippincott Illustrated Review Pharmacology. In these figures, figure A, B, and C, these are representing that your ligands are hydrophilic, that are not soluble in lipids, that can't penetrate through the lipid bilayer. These are water soluble. So these will bind themselves to external surfaces, to the extracellular surface of the cell that is present outside the lipid bilayer. And these ligands will interact themselves to these extracellular spaces which are present outside the cell membrane, that as a result of this interaction, there will be formation of drug receptor complex. There will be conformational changes in the receptor. As a result, there will be an intracellular response. So, while on the other hand, if you have a ligand that is hydrophobic, that is soluble in lipid, or that has ability to cross the cell membrane, in this case, your drug will penetrate through the cell membrane and will attach itself or make a complex with intracellular receptor. Here in this example, in this figure, the example of intracellular receptor includes steroid receptors, while ligand-gated ion channels example include cholinergic nicotinic receptors. G-protein coupled receptors examples include alpha and beta adrenoreceptors, while examples of enzyme-linked receptors include insulin receptors. Now, moving towards first family of the receptor, that is transmembrane ligand-gated ion channel receptors. So, these are the receptors which are basically have two sites, that is extracellular site that is present outside the cell membrane, and the other site is embedded within the cell membrane or the lipid bilayer. So the extracellular portion of this receptor has a site for the binding of the ligand, and that is called the ligand binding site. This blue color is actually representing a receptor that is ligand gated ion channel, and this pink color is representing a ligand, and this ligand will bind itself to a site which is called the ligand binding site. And after binding of this ligand to the receptor, there will be a biological change within the cell. There will be a production of biological response. This site, this ligand binding site, actually regulates the shape of the spore. This receptor basically has a channel or pore which is responsible for the transfer of the ions. So, when these receptors are activated, when a ligand makes a complex with the receptor, as a result, there is activation of the receptors, there is opening of the channel which is present inside this receptor. As a result of this opening, there is conduction of ions. And these channels actually remain open for the period of milliseconds. Most of the drugs which we study in pharmacology are actually the ligands for the ligand-gated ion channels. Here are some examples of natural ligands which are responsible or which bind themselves with the ligand-gated ion channels. And example of such ligands include acetylcholine, serotonin, GABA, and glutamate. All these natural endogenous ligands or substances are basically involved in the neurotransmission. This figure is actually representing how the drug binds itself, how glutamate binds itself to the receptor, and as a result of this receptor binding, or as a result of this binding of the ligand to the receptor, there is influx of the sodium ions and efflux or outflux of the potassium ions. Similarly, this figure is representing two drugs, that is glutamate and glycine. We will discuss these drugs later on. Now, moving towards Lippincott. In Lippincott, there is an example of ligand-gated ion channel or receptor, that is nicotinic receptor. To these nicotinic receptors, there is binding of a drug or endogenous substance, that is acetylcholine. As a result of this binding, there is influx of the sodium ions. When your drug, your agonist, bind itself to a ligand binding site, there is opening of the channels. As a result of this opening, there is influx of sodium ions. Due to this influx of sodium ions and outflux of potassium ions, there is generation of action potential. As a result, there is contraction of skeletal muscle. So this statement is representing that we have a receptor, that is nicotinic receptor, and to these receptors, nicotine and both acetylcholine bind themselves. As a result of this binding, there is contraction in the skeletal muscles. So these nicotinic receptors are also present on the skeletal muscles. Similarly, in the Kaizen, it is represented, or it is written that these nicotinic receptors are also called nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. When a drug binds to these receptors, there is activation of these receptors. As a result of binding of nicotine or acetylcholine to these receptors, there is influx of sodium ions. As a result, there is depolarization within the cells. So, this figure is representing how nicotinic acetylcholine receptors work. N here, N is representing nicotine, ACH is representing acetylcholine, and R is representing receptor. So, in this case, you can see that this receptor basically has 5 forms or 5 pentamers. It is composed of 5 polypeptides, which are making basically a pentamer. So binding of the drug to this receptor results in activation of the receptors. So there are different forms of acetylcholine receptors. And one of this form is very common, and one of this receptor form is very common, that is pentamer. Basically, this pentamer is composed of 5 polypeptide subunits. Out of these, 2 subunits are of alpha polypeptide chain or alpha unit. One is beta, one is gamma, and one is sigma. So, molecular weight of these ranges from 43,000 to 50,000. So this is the alpha subunit or alpha polypeptide or alpha chain. There is second alpha chain as well. Then there is beta chain. There is gamma chain. Then there is sigma chain. Now, as a result of binding of the drug to the acetylcholine to the alpha chain, there is activation of the receptor. This figure is also representing that we have 2 alpha chains, 1 beta chain, 1 gamma chain, and 1 sigma chain. So there is a central transmembrane ion channel as well. This figure is representing that this dotted line is actually a central transmembrane ion channel. When there is activation of receptor, there is influx of sodium ions. So as a result of binding of acetylcholine to the alpha subunit, actually there is influx of the sodium ions. This acetylcholine binds itself to a particular site, and this site is present on the alpha chain or the alpha subunit. As a result, there is an influx of sodium. Due to this influx of sodium, there is depolarization. And why this sodium influx happens? This is only because of the opening of this central ion channel. And the diameter of this central ion channel is 0.5 nanometer. So as a result of this, as a result of all these sequences, there is a depolarization of the cell. In the previous figure, it is represented that these polypeptides actually crosses the lipid bilayer 4 times. So as a result of passing this lipid bilayer 4 times by each polypeptide, there is formation of a cylindrical structure. Due to this cylindrical structure, diameter of this polypeptide is actually of 10 nanometer. And these diameters are particularly impermeable to the ions. However, the permeability of the ions is only due to the opening of the channel, which is of 0.5 nanometer. So this channel is actually responsible for the cellular effect. Now moving towards the next receptor, that is glycine receptor, GLY. GLY means glycine and R is receptor. Whenever there is binding of glycine to this receptor, there is influx of the chloridines. As a result of this chloridines, there is hyperpolarization of the cell. These glycine receptors are actually present in CNS, spinal cord, brainstem, and retina. And this glycine is actually a inhibitory neurotransmitter. Now, what is the antagonist of this glycine? Strychnine is actually the antagonist of glycine. This strychnine will compete with the glycine for this binding site, which is present on the alpha-2 subunit. As a result of this competition, it is possibility that strychnine bind itself to this binding site. As a result, there will be inactivation of the receptor, and this receptor will remain in the inactivated state. In the R state, there will be no formation, or there will be no transformation of R into R star, that is activated receptor. Now, in the next section, we will discuss the GABA receptor. In this section, we have discussed that what are ligand-gated ion channels, what are different examples of ligand-gated ion channels, and the other example of ligand-gated ion channel include GABA receptors. GABA receptors are also ligand-gated ion channels, but there is a certain type of this GABA receptor which is also metabotropic receptor. So in this next section, we will discuss these GABA receptors, how these GABA receptors act.